And go ahead, Don, it's all yours.
Okay, wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. And I want to thank all the people that come to these chats, all of our members. I want to thank Mr. E. He's taking care of it, and our moderators. And on the B group, the Fat B Man group, you see we have a big hammer there, and our moderators are going to use it. Now, there's people that probably come in and watch the chats that don't do much posting, but what you need to do, we'll talk about the vaporizers tonight, but people are making comments and stuff, and if you're getting deleted, I don't normally delete anybody unless they're making foul language on my group or if they're excessively advertising something, but we want to keep it a clean chat. And if it's not for our moderators and the people that participate here, we wouldn't have us a nice chat. And as far as YouTube, you're probably getting a lot of good information here and the straight talk. People complain about they got to pay this, pay that. Most people don't realize it's not just my YouTube channel, but other people's YouTube channels. People like to complain about pop-ups on there. They're a 30-second pop-up. If it's not me, it's other YouTubers that make these videos on different subjects. Their only source of revenue is 1 cent per view, which is very small. So if you like anybody's video, it don't cost you a thing to go to one corner, subscribe to the channel, click that you like that video. That helps promote. It gives the YouTubers out there, not only me, other ones, a little incentive, because it does take time out of their schedule. And what I want to talk about first is vaporizing, treating your hives. Now I'm going to show you, where did I disappeared off the screen. Uh-oh, what have I got to find myself here? There I am, all right. Here is the hand vaporizer. This is a brand new one, as you can see. Very effective, 100%. I've used these for 10 to 12 years. Very good results. Now, we have a lot of hives. The drawback of this vaporizer that we sell here is it takes a minute to 3 minutes. Now, I have about 5 or 6 students that bought this one here. This one, if you can see, it's called the ProVac 110 volt. And I haven't used this yet. I done a little review on it right out of the box. This is still brand new. My students, the ones that I have as regular students, are doing this in 20 to 25 seconds. So that means you can do 2 a minute. And if you got a couple hundred hives at a location, you can run this pretty efficiently. And it's costing you probably a fraction of a cent to use this here, and you're not losing beehives. I don't market this, but E has put this, I think, on my webpage, Oxavac 110. They sell vaporizers too. I'm going to do an actual review on this here in the springtime when the bees are flying a little bit more. But you need to do some type of treatments for your bees. Now, if you're mixing up sugar water, we are mixing in 55-gallon barrels, and we give them a good dose in the fall and the spring of tea tree oil. And we're using about a half to 3/4 of a cup of tea tree oil to 55 gallons of sugar water. Or a 5-gallon mixture, you could use 1/4 of a cup. It's a really strong solution. So it's an antifungal, antibacterial. And that gives them a nice shot for spring and fall. And the next things I want to talk about too is, it's Christmas time. It's a little late, but we have DVDs. You might not want to see my ugly face on a regular basis, but you can stuff this in someone's stocking, whether they like you or they don't like you. And E is taking care of the videos for us. And we are going to be doing AI classes, which is artificial insemination. The student that is going to take commercial classes from me was taught by Sue Colby. He's certified, and he'll be doing artificial insemination, and we also be doing regular queen grafting. So those will be separate classes as far as the organic and the commercial bee classes. And if you're a student, or if you bought 25 packages from me, get a hold of E and he'll put you on the list or our webpage as a student and you're using our stock. And I'm more than happy to refer a lot of people to you. I want to teach bees. I keep selling too many bees here. Right now my yard is empty. And let's see, I'm trying to make a list of everything. Ordering bees. If you need to get bees or if you're students of mine, let me know how many you want. And I'm hoping to get 200 to 400 on a load. So that means I can sell about 200 to 250. So if you're a student and you need 50 or 100, let me know in advance and approximate dates that you want them. They need to be paid for. If you bought from me in the past, you can pay half. We send a check and pay cash when you pick them up. If you never bought from me before, send a check. It needs to be cleared 20 days before you pick up. Now, the queen classes will be scheduled in advance. So if you have a date that you want, you email me, let me know when you want to come. Either I'm going to be back there teaching or one of my students is going to be, that's going to be doing some of the classes with us. Now, as far as December, I know there's not a lot of things that people are doing, but you probably have a lot of questions that you want to ask. So now's the time to get in there. And I want to welcome all our new guests that we have and hope you come back, that we don't bore you too much. And if you got a question, we got a hands up thing. You can ask questions and we try to keep it orderly. No fighting and no brawling.
Okay.
Who's going first?
First up is Anthony. Go ahead, Anthony. Can't hear you. Are you plugged in? Nothing. Okay, we'll come back. All right, Mary, you're up next. Go ahead.
Merry Christmas to all. I have two questions. One, this is my first wintering bees. How much is a normal dead bee count?
Well, everybody was, considered normal. You're going to have dead bees all year. But if you got groups of them out there, then I would start to worry. Wintertime, if you had a cold night, 10 to 20, maybe 25 on the bottom board until about 10 through 11 o'clock, should be normal. Because the bees, if they're clustering, they're not hauling the dead out.
Yeah, that's what I was scraping them out with the reducer in the front, but there seemed to be about maybe 25, 30 every time I've done that.
That's probably a normal, attrition of the hive. It's nothing to really worry about. The main thing to do is make sure you got honey and you don't have it sealed too tight. Make sure you have ventilation on it. Lift the back of the hive or the sides of the hive and check for weight. If you are getting light this time of the year, if you got honey, put some honey on them. You can either put it in a hive top feeder, or if you're really low, I've explained before, turn the frame sideways, get a honey bear and squirt it in the open comb, and then set it next to your cluster, and they'll take care of it from there.
Okay, thank you. And my next question is, as far as I treated them for Varroa in the end of November, do I need, if I warm up again like we've been doing here in Tennessee, do I do another treatment in December or January?
You could probably do it at the end of December or 1st of January if they're flying about 55 degrees. Some bees will start flying like 40, 42 degrees. I'd wait till about 55. But kind of listen to the hive. If you got a good roar in there or a good buzz, I wouldn't worry about treating them to maybe February. Because if you treated them in November, you shouldn't have much of a mite.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anthony, are you operational now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Dawn, is that is that ProVape the $500 model? Is that what that one is?
This one here, I'm not sure what the actual cost of it is. I think it's right at $550.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first put my hand up, Joe wasn't in yet, but I see Joe is in the group now.
I think
Joe,
I talked to Joe about it, and I think he's copied this here. I haven't tested it out. Joe says it works. Jerry from North Carolina's got one. I think I got about 6 students that's got it. And as you know, I don't try to promote a lot of people's stuff. I think this is something, I wouldn't go out and buy this if you had 2 hives. I would only invest in something this way if you're running 25, 50 hives. It's just a time saver.
Yeah, for you other people, if you wanted to see, Joe made a video about his, and you can see how he does it. You know, it looks like it's a pretty good way to go because you can put it in one hive, and while it's treating that hive, you can be getting the cup ready for the next one. So you can move along pretty quick. But Joe's got a video on it. He might want to say something about it.
No, on my Little Bit Honeybee YouTube channel. I've treated about 700 hives with it now, and it's been flawless.
Yeah, so there you go. There's a lady, Ann, that doesn't have a microphone. I told her I'd ask her a question, but she didn't tell me what it is. So go ahead and move on to somebody else, please.
Okay. Peter, you're up next. Go ahead.
Hi, Don.
Hey,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you for the invite. You know, it's been a tough few months for me. You and I talk once in a while. I have the ProVape, and you asked me to, I have 2 of these actually. I've actually wrapped, my other one is wrapped with the stuff you used to wrap mufflers with.
Mm-hmm.
I find that it goes back to temperature a lot quicker that way. But I've been using my ProVapes for about a year now, right from when they came out. I got 2 of them. My son does a certain amount of hives. I do the other amount of hives, and we're done really, really quick, you know.
Is it is effective, and do you feel as good about it as the hand wand?
Yeah, it's very, very effective. And as, you know, especially with the oxalic acid vapor, as we talked in the past, it's unbelievable. I have submitted on, let's see, on November 21st, I finally got back the bees that I sent to the National Honey Bee Survey.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, this is the oxalic acid, and that's why I kind of wanted to share this with you. I sent a total of 1,053 bees. And of the 1,053 bees, the total varroa mite count was 2.
Was that after your treatment?
After my treatment, they took bees about, I would say, a week and a half after I did a treatment,
Okay.
or one of the last treatments. I have done another treatment about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
But this was about, yeah. So varroa mites per 100 bees, 0.1.
Well, see, that's basically what I say on a lot of my videos, that the vaporizer is almost 100%.
It is.
But, you know, you could have 100% today, and if a truck drives down the road with a bunch of beehives, then that's where you can pick up some excess ones. But people, whether you buy this expensive model or a hand one, the first thing they want to say is, that's a lot of money. But they don't take into consideration what one hive costs. And people are losing hives because they don't want to treat.
Not just the price of the hive, but the price of time. You know, if you have 20 hives and you're going to do them with a spoon, I call it the spoon. But if you do, you know, 20 hives, 40 hives with the spoon.
Well, that's the state here, you know.
Yeah.
That's the thing I preach here at the bee yard.
Yeah.
You can buy this, you can buy a dozen of these. The thing that you can't buy is time.
Yeah.
This versus that, I think, is going to save us in the long run, because, you know, I was reluctant to spend that kind of money on it, but time, you know,
Yeah,
When you start running several hundred hives, you have to put your time to where it's most used.
yeah.
And I'm glad you're saying this here and other people are voicing that. That's what we need to hear.
And especially if you're out there in the heat of the summer morning, 90 degrees out or something, you get
Right.
to do a bunch of hives. That's why I bought two, because I end up, splitting with my son and getting it done quick.
Right. Mhm.
Every time we went out there, it would take us a whole morning just to do, 20 hives. So it was,
One thing that I should mention on this here, this is 110 AC. The other one is 12 volt. What you can buy is a converter for your cigarette lighter and run your extension cord. It pulls 2.2 amps. And if you just carry an extra battery in your truck with a set of jumper cables in case you run the battery down too low, or go out and start it up about every 8-10 minutes. You let it run for 5 minutes and it builds it back.
if you don't mind spending an extra $120 like I did, you go out and get a solar panel for one of the remote apiaries from one of the local places. I guess I won't name places, but buy the solar kit. It's about $120 when it's on sale, and you can plug them right in too, and it runs.
Yeah.
So
They don't pull much.
no, they do not. They do not. But going back to the oxalic acid, it's I got the proof right here from the that it works.
That's what we need to know.
Yeah. All right, Don.
Okay.
All right. Ernest, you're up next. Go ahead.
Yeah, my friend John has a question here. Go ahead, John.
Hello, thank you for letting me join your chat this evening.
Well, Santa Claus, we wouldn't chase you away for no reason.
Well, this is the season to be here, huh? Well, my question is, I just have 2 colonies and they're nukes. There's a deep and 2 mediums. And if I get them through this winter, what do you think the first thing I should do to multiply? Should I split those nukes, or should I just buy more package bees and try to just strengthen up the number?
What are you running in?
Pardon?
Are you running 10 frame stuff? Are you running 8s or 5s?
5 frames.
5 frames?
Yeah.
What I would do is just keep putting the feed to them and don't try putting extra supers on. Let them get crowded and loaded. That way they'll make cells. That way you should be able to split them, 3 or 4 frames out of each box, and it won't take you long. But if you're trying to recoup money fast, I would invest either in buying some packages from someone that's close to you, or you can come down here and I'll be glad to sell you some. You can either buy nukes or you can buy packages, but being new at it and maybe you want to retire, I think what I would do is I'd invest in packages. That way it's more of a learning thing for you. And that way you learn how to do things rather than have it ready made for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Nobody else has any questions tonight. Everybody's being shy. Come on, get those hands up. Up. Peter's back. Go ahead, Peter.
Hey, nobody else took the chance. I jumped right in.
Got to.
Hey, Don, I wanted to ask you something. I've been doing a little bit of lab work. As you know, I'm doing that master beekeeper thing. What's your take on tracheal mites? Do you find that it's still a problem or not a problem anymore?
Well, I've had people from the university come here and check my hives, I guess 8 years or more already. Check them for tracheal mites, and they probably checked 50 hives and they didn't find one. The thing that I keep preaching that people are just not listening is tracheal mites is almost extinct. There is still some tracheal mite damage out there, then some hives do die, but it's rare. But when you take the same size bee and you downsize it, you downsize the tracheal mite, the trachea, so the tracheal mite is stayed the same size. It's not a problem on small cell. So that's what I have found. But, I haven't gone to college, so it's hard to argue with the people that's got degrees.
Well, no, it's a whole study. And of course, you always find the 2 sides of the coin, even with the science people,
Right.
the school people. just wanted to also share, since this is, I guess we can share some of our ideas. I'm up north. For those who doesn't know, I'm in Connecticut, so we go through some cold winters. And one of the ways that we winterize our hives is to get a piece of insulation, 1-inch insulation, cut it and put it between the inner cover and the outer cover. And a lot of these places sell them. You can buy them already from, you know, Man Lake and places like that, $6, $7 for each. You can go to one of the big chain stores anywhere that sells this stuff. I bought a whole sheet for $18 and made 10, you know, with a line inside for the ventilation. So,
Well, one thing you might, if you got the time now, you know, be a dumpster diver. If you go around to where they're building houses and they're using that product, you'll find they cut out the windows. They put it over in full sheets and then they cut the window out, and those pieces go into their dumpster.
okay.
So you can go around where they're building a house and get enough to do about 12, 15 hives easily.
Yeah, yeah. I'm learning with the with you, but I'm also I'm cheap too. You know, I like to do things and save money. So just figured I'd share that one.
Yeah.
All right, give somebody else a chance. I have another question, but I'll ask later.
Okay.
Okay. Wally, you're up next. Go ahead.
Hey, Don, thanks for
Hey.
the chat. Hello, everybody. I had a question. I'm first year beekeeper. I started around in April with a wild swarm.
Yeah.
I was able to split them 3 different times, but I don't have enough wax build up. So what do I do about foundations?
Well, you're not going to draw much foundation this time of the year. So you're going to have to wait the spring. Your best bet is to feed them really good. If they're fed good, they'll draw wax. Now, if you're just getting started, you can afford to buy sheets of unwired foundation, cut them in starter strips. It gives them a little quicker boost. You can also use full sheets. I mean, it just depends on which way you want to go.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Okay.
Okay. We're caught up again, Peter. Back to you.
Well, Ann, we got Ann here, and I'm going to ask her, talk about your candles and stuff. Her and her husband do a lot of candle work. Now, I don't know if people have done a lot of that, but Ann Ryan is up north. She has bees, and she's real good on her candles and stuff. Go ahead, Ann.
I don't think she's got a microphone.
No microphone?
And try talking because it's got a mute and unmute on you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, it's my phone. Okay, I didn't think I was going to be able to communicate.
Lean in close though.
Okay, I'm the president of my local bee club, and we've always had candle making. Bunch of us get together a few times a year, and we just melt all the wax we can get our hands on, and we make candles. What do you want to know? Anybody have any questions? I have a link to my a wax rendering tutorial that I hand out to people also.
Once you get in and start talking a little bit, other people will kind of join in too. This is not a candid camera here. This is to help one another. And
no, absolutely.
We might have people out there that want to do a little candle doing, you know? I mean, candle making.
To do, it's just you mainly want to make sure your wax is nice and clean and filtered, and the molds are expensive, which is why we pull together. There's, like I said, there's 3 of us that have quite a collection now. When we get together, we can make, we can bang out quite a few. It's a lot of fun. It smells nice too. I also, I use the rendered cappings wax specifically for cosmetics like lip balms. I don't know which way to look at the camera here or up there. I'm not sure what to look at. I make lip balms, I make soaps, I make salves and stuff like that. I only use the clean cappings wax. I don't use brood comb. Brood comb is okay for candles. It's also great for the little squares that you can sell that people use for quilting or drawing thread through. Woodworkers use it. It's a very useful little product.
There's a good market if you want to do your wax, in small blocks and that. But I'm glad people have different uses for different products, because there might be somebody that's watching this video or this chat when it goes up on YouTube and wonders what they can do with their wax, and maybe they don't understand. They can make lip balms, they can make candles, they could do a lot of things with it.
Yeah. Anthony was.
Oh, something's feedback here. And Jim wants to know, what do you use for scents? Can you use rosemary leaves?
In what? In the candles? No, I don't scent beeswax candles at all. They're too precious, and they actually, when you burn a beeswax candle, there's no soot, and it actually cleans the air around. I wouldn't want to put scent in them. There's a Facebook group. It's called Beeswax Candle Making, and there are people there that do scent. I don't. If I was going to make lip balm, you've got to get flavor oils for that. You have to have skin safe, actually mucous membrane safe flavor oils to use in lip balms. And soaps, you use essential oils, or you can use fragrance oils in there.
Ann is on my Fat Bee Man group. If you want any of her recipes, I'm sure she'd part with some of them. Just send her a little email or PM her and get with her.
Okay. All right. Over to Mr. and Mrs. Claus. Go ahead, Pat.
Ho, ho, ho. Well, I just had a couple of comments. A lot of people are afraid to mess with the wax, because I know I was. I didn't know exactly how to handle it or what exactly to do. And so my first year, I saved all my wax cappings and I washed them and I put them in a couple of net bags, and I was going to do them all in one process. And when to go get the bags, they could fly themselves away. The wax moths had found my cappings and destroyed them. So be very careful with handling them. If you're not processing it right away, put it in the freezer or something to make sure you don't get anything to hatch. And
I've got about 4 videos on wax processing, and if you got caps, even if it's got a little bit of honey in it, do the first process, and when you have a block and it floats in the water, just brush it off with your hand. The wax moth is less likely to bother then. It's pretty safe then.
Right, because you've already processed it once.
Right.
Exactly. Mine was just the cappings right.
Right.
I had rinsed most of the honey out, I thought. I didn't know any better the first time. Now I know.
Well, I've done those videos on processing wax, processing honey, and to me, it's a no-brainer. But people that see it, they say, well, why hasn't anybody else? I just figure everybody knew that kind of stuff. Lighting a smoker, I mean, I was astounded how many people don't know how to light a smoker. And it's just common stuff.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I was kind of intimidated by what to do and how to start. And one of the guys in one of our local clubs does a lot of cutouts. And so he purposely saved all of the wax from a year's worth of cutouts. And it was so gross and smelled so bad. And he rendered it down through his process, like you're describing, where he melted it in water and cleaned the debris off the bottom, and did that a couple of times. And it was beautiful wax when he was done. So don't be intimidated by it. It's easier than it first appears.
I don't know if you was in here last time I showed a block of wax, and it was not filtered. It's lemon yellow, and I got a complimentary award for it. The lady that judged it said I would have got first prize, but it was 0.2 over that limit. It's supposed to be right at 2 pounds or under for a block for show, which I didn't pay attention. But I have never filtered wax other than run it through a screen. Right. 2 processes, 3, and I don't care if it's black. It'll come out, the dark stuff will come out light, and then the cappings will come out really light lemon yellow. Just process it once or twice.
Yeah, it turns out beautifully.
Folks. Yeah, keep it simple. But if you're doing someone's for cutouts and stuff, about the maximum you can go is about 10 days to 2 weeks. Then you're going to get so much crud in there, and the wax moths will make that webbing in there. It absorbs so much wax, you won't get it. And if you're doing it inside, the smell is not worth putting up with it. So do it on a regular basis. Keep the small blocks, and then when you get a dozen small blocks, they might only be ½ inch high.
Yeah.
Melt
He
them
did-
down, get 10, 12 and melt them down, make one bigger block.
Yeah.
That's what I
He
did.
did a parking lot, and he purposely saved it so that we could see how gross it was.
Oh,
and
yeah.
how it came. And I lost my fear of dealing with my wax after that, because as bad as his looked, mine's never looked like that. So I figured I was already ahead of the game. That's all.
All right, over to Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I guess since the discussion is on wax, one of the things that I did is we repurposed an electric fryer that we had, an old fryer. It's like $20 at Walmart. The nice thing about that is that it goes all the way down to like 160, you know, the melting temperature of wax. So if that's of use to people, but you don't want to use your wife's electric fryer that you use for cooking food, definitely. But I just wanted to put that out there. And the other thing I discovered, we had a hive that got pretty hot this summer. We'd get stung every time we opened it up, without, you know, every time. And I think it was because of the pests that were around.
Dragonflies and
Dragonflies, lizards. I don't know. We never figured out exactly what was causing it, but they've calmed down. So, you know, my initial worry was we had an Africanized colony, but it was apparently pests. But one thing I discovered, somebody posted up a video where he takes like a vinyl cloth, he takes a Nook box out, and he puts the Nook box next to the hive, and he takes the frames out and puts them one at a time into the Nook box, and he has a cover over both. So the bees, you know, while you're working the hive, you can contain them. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that when you get a hot hive like that.
Well, usually a hot hive is, there's something, you know, got a pest or something around there, but setting them in another box, if it works for you, you can do it. But when you're running several hundred boxes out there, you don't have the time or the luxury.
Well, we're small time. You know, I can imagine if you're working, 100 hives, it's not going to work out for you. But it was, you know, we only had 3 hives at the time, and it was a battle dealing with them because you have to do your inspections.
They were so mean. Our neighbors were scared of them.
Yeah, you got stung 3 times. They were hitting the camera. I brought a camera out there, and they're in the video hitting it. Like,
was it an old queen? There's usually something that provokes them.
We had more dragonflies this year than I've ever seen before in my life.
the other thing that I did notice is we had those assassin bugs, I think they're called, that they eat the bees, like when they would hang around on the outside of the hive.
Yeah.
And I catch a couple of those and kill them, but they're all over the place. We had all kinds of pests this summer.
It was bad.
Well, the best thing for that is when you're walking your bee yard is get you an old bat mitten racket. You can get them at a yard sale. That's what I use in my bee yard. And you hit them in the air because they're so big and so fast that you can't hit them with a stick or your hive tool. But that bat mitten thing, now a tennis racket will work, but for me, it hurts my wrist if you miss them. The tennis racket is lightweight and it don't take much to hit them, knock them down. But if you knock them down, be sure you step on them real quick. Now, in Louisiana, I had bees in South Georgia, and another thing that would aggravate them is what they call cow ants. They're a great big ant that runs on the ground, and it's real bright red, crimson red.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
I don't see
I've
them
seen
often.
them, but I don't
Not
think
often.
we had those this year.
No.
We had everything else.
Yeah. Everything.
Those things, they're hard to kill. So if they get in your hive, the bees, they can't even sting them. They'll just aggravate the hive.
Oh, okay. We'll keep an eye out for those.
Thank you, and Merry
Thanks.
Christmas.
Yep.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, over to Ann again. Go ahead, Ann.
I just excuse me, I just wanted to say that to save the wax, I clean it, the cappings wax, I clean it in water, and then I compress them into blocks, and I put them in the freezer. And then when I want to take the time to render them, they're safe in the wax holes. The other interesting thing that I had happen was I had a bucket out in the garage that was full of chunks of wax that had come out of frames over a few years. there was wax melt activity in there, but when I sent that stuff through my solar wax melter, I got the most gorgeous orange wax you've ever seen in your life. It looks like it was dyed, and it wasn't. It's just from brood comb. It was amazing. So it's kind of weird what you might get when you do renderings of old
Well,
brood comb.
the sun on a solar wax melter, you can take black comb on a solar wax melter, and the sun itself will bleach the wax.
Yeah, but this wasn't bleach. This was orange. It was really
Well,
pretty.
usually if it's orange, orangier it is, it's because that frame had a lot of pollen in it. And usually the pollen is what gives it that orange color.
Yeah.
But of all the methods of cleaning wax, the best that I found is get you a good 20-quart kettle. You get one at a yard sale and fill it 3/4 of the way full of water, and then no more than 4 frames at a time, especially brood frames. Now, if you're doing supers and there's no brood, it's in the supers, at honey supers, you can do 3 or 4 supers and you'll get like an inch and a half cake, and it's nice yellow wax.
Yeah.
When you do that, I keep that stuff separate because I sell it as cosmetic wax. It has no chemical, and we only run our wax 1 year unless we sell them as nukes, then they're gone.
Right.
Anybody else want to jump in?
Okay. John Myers, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hey, Don.
Yay.
I was wondering about, do you know anywhere to get some cheap boxes? I've been getting just like some 6-foot boards and stuff like that, but cheapest I've really been able to find them is like $12 for like a 6-foot board, you know, like the 12 by 1 or 1 by 12 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I didn't
Best
know
thing,
if
I sell my wood here, a 12-inch board. We sell it, it's 8.5 to 9 foot. We sell it to our students $4. And whether it's clear or got knots in it, doesn't matter. What I would suggest where you live is get on the computer and look up Wood-Mizer or portable sawmills. And a lot of people that's cutting white pine and yellow pine, they'll sell it to you. And usually the going rate off of a sawmill is probably 35 to 55 cents a board foot. So you buy a 12-foot board, you're paying, $6 for it. Now you can buy a planer, or if the guy has a good sawmill, he can set it right at 3/4 and just set it on sticks. And usually within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it's going to shrink enough. It's big right at 3/4. That's how I saw mine. I saw mine at 3/4, and I set my blades at 16 thousandths on a Wood-Mizer. And most people run a Wood-Mizer, run 42 thousandths. It just takes more of the wood out.
Yeah, I've called like the only places we really have around here is like 84 Lumber, and like, I don't know, there's some other places, like just like Anderson Lumber and stuff like that. But I don't really know about anybody.
If you want to buy your wood there, Home Depot, Lowe's, 84, Menards, go and talk to the guy that runs the wood department. Tell them you're a beekeeper, you're willing to buy some of their rejects. They usually have a cull pile, and they might have cracks, or they might have a busted out knot. And if you got a cross-cut saw, cut your lengths first, then cut off the bad edge, whatever you got. A lot of times you can buy a board for 30 cents a board foot or less. Sometimes I've even had them give you $1 a board, and there'd be 8-foot or 10-foot boards, $1 a piece, kiln-dried wood.
Yeah, I didn't ask him about the rejects or anything like that, but I did ask him about like, what if you bought like a whole pallet's worth or whatever it would be, or like a flatbed, and they said that it wasn't no cheaper. Even didn't matter how many you got, it's still around like $10 a board or something at like that lumber company.
Where do you live?
Up here near Knoxville.
Oh, well, there's places, Knoxville got a bunch of sawmills. Look up the wholesale lumber companies and tell them you're a commercial beekeeper. They'll give you a price, because we can buy kiln-dried wood for 60 and 70 cents a foot. But you have to buy a bunk, and a bunk usually has 90 pieces in it. But, if you got a big truck, it's not a big deal.
What? There's 90 pieces, and how much did you say it was?
It usually runs 60 cents a board foot.
All right. Yeah, that's a lot better than what I'm getting it for.
Yeah, last bunk that we bought had 90 pieces in it, and I think they was all 16 foot. And we just took a chainsaw and just right at the 8-foot mark, just cut them in half, you know. That way you can handle them a lot better. But you got to have a loader or something to load them.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. I'll call around here. Sometime I'm looking to try to build some here.
Yeah.
I'm not doing nothing.
Okay. Let's see, over to Josh. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, hey, Dawn.
Yay.
One of the questions I wanted to ask was, I got a whole bunch of medium foundation on sale for pretty cheap. It's just regular stuff like this. And I have 200 deep frames and 200 medium frames to fill.
Right.
And I'm wondering, is it possible, I know you can do the foundation starter strips and the deep frames. What would you suggest I do? Would you suggest that I have the stuff here? Would you suggest I do something like this for the deep frames?
What is the foundation you got? What is it called? Medium brood or is it Duragilt?
It's Thin Surplus from Man Lake.
Thin Surplus. All right, Thin Surplus is made for honeycomb, so it's going to be really thin.
Okay.
Most that I would do is I'd cut it in 1-inch strips, 1.5 inches at the very most, because it's really thin. And that's where it's going to break off at the top bar.
Okay.
That's why we run ours a lot thicker. And then if you run a starter strip, a 2-inch or a 3-inch starter strip, when you start getting some weight on it with honey, it's going to bust off there if it's not thick enough. Now you can put that Thin Surplus in there 1.5 inches and then just cross wire it with fishing line.
That's what I have. That's
yeah.
what I have here in an X
Yeah.
fishing line.
Yeah.
I was going to put two layers of fishing line in here on it, but I'm not sure how to checkerboard it, I guess you could say, between.
Well, if you checkerboard it and your hive is not strong enough, the bees will chew wherever that string, that fishing line comes across in contact with your wax, they'll chew it.
Okay.
You have to be drawing wax, and if they're not drawing wax, they're going to start consuming wax or chewing on it.
Okay.
So that's the whole trick to drawing good wax is feed them good.
Okay. So would you suggest a full sheet of this and then a starter strip of this for brood, or what would you? How would you do it? All I have is medium foundation right now.
If it's all thin stuff, if you have other stuff it's drawed already.
Yeah.
All right, I'd put a piece of the foundation, the starter strip, in between 2 pieces that's already drawn out. Then they'll probably draw it out, but don't do more than 1 or 2 in a box at a time. If you give them too much, they're not going to be able to cover it.
Okay.
And you need to have a fairly strong hive to do that. Probably best thing to do it in 5-frame boxes where you can confine the bees. Because another thing too, even if you're feeding them, if the temperatures ain't warm enough, they're not going to draw wax. That's why they draw it faster in a 5-frame box, because it can create enough heat.
That makes sense. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Over to Anthony. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to say, and maybe most of you or all of you already know, don't put your wax moth frames in a trash bag because they go right through a trash bag. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I was reading something like maybe a week ago. I'm pretty sure it said they have like an enzyme or something they can secrete that they can go right through a trash bag. And then after I read that on my own on the internet, somebody on one of these bee groups, I'm not sure if it was this one, posted an article just last week about the same thing. So if you're a small guy and you don't have a lot of frames, I would think those big plastic totes you can get from Kmart or Walmart or whatever would be good. They would keep the wax moth out, I think. And then I had my first wax moth mess a few weeks ago. And I cleaned up the boxes. I soaped them, bleached them, scraped them, wire brushed them, and left them out in the sun. And after I cleaned the frames, I put them all in the freezer, as many as I could get. Well, I don't have a chest freezer. And it was probably the next day when my wife said, well, I was going to make ice cubes, but I got no place to put the trays.
You remember the video I said, if you got a lot of beehives, you put them in the freezer, you're not going to have a happy wife.
No, she's happy because she loves the bees. She's into it, which is good. She's not afraid of the bees. She really enjoys it. So it's good. I got half of my 10 frame boxes cut down to 8s, put back together. And probably tomorrow I'll start taking the bees out of the 10 boxes and getting them situated in the 8s. Because Serrana just don't seem like they're going to fill a 10 box. They're different than the bees you guys have. All right, we're getting close to the end. 2 people got their hand up, so I'll let you go. Go ahead. Thank you.
Over to Wally. Go ahead, Wally.
Hey, I had a question about treatment-free. Everybody talks about treatment-free. I actually treated this in November, and I got a lot of mites that were dead. When I see people that post selling bees, they all talk about treatment-free. What's the deal with that? Can I say they're treatment-free, or
Well, here's the thing. People will say they got treatment-free bees. What is the treatment-free bee really amounting to? You can be treatment-free just by making lots of splits. If you make enough splits and you keep the cycle broke, you're going to be kind of treatment-free, but you're going to have mites. And when your customer gets it, then they're going to explode on them. So you need to treat bees if you're going to sell bees. If you want to do backyard beekeeping and just say, you're not going to feed your bees, you're going to be treatment-free, and you're going to do everything natural, you're going to be buying bees every year. So either treat the bees, break the cycle, do something. I mean, I don't recommend just powder sugar and bees, but if you powder sugar them every 7 days, you're going to knock the mites down. But if you're not killing the mites, they're going to come back. And then you're creating another problem by not killing the mites. Is with all that powder sugar hitting the ground, then you're going to have ant problems. So you've got to do something. It's not like it was when I was a kid. You go out to the woods, you get a beehive, you put it in a box, go out twice a year, pull the honey, the bees, you can't kill them. Nowadays, you look at them wrong and they'll die.
So another thing with so my original hive that I got, the queen's still in there. I'm guessing she's 2-3 years old. I left them alone because they were flying in and out. They were doing good, but I went ahead and did a treatment, and I went in the hive just the day before yesterday, just to kind of take a peek in there. I didn't see any brew. I didn't see a lot of cap honey, and some of the cells were really, really big.
Where do you live?
I'm just about 45 minutes south of you.
Well, if you're south of me and they're getting a little bit of large comb, they're drawing drone comb. Either you bumped your queen and they're replacing her. You shouldn't have drone comb that they're making until you're down in Florida this time of the year. Okay. That would be more normal. The drone comb, it's a natural process. And bees, the queen's going to lay all the time, depending on how much, pollen's coming in.
But I didn't see any eggs or brew in there. It's just empty cells.
It depends. Are you looking through a veil?
Yeah.
You might not be able to see none.
Okay.
If there's a day out there with the sunshine, get the sun in back of you, and then pull the frame up and look down. And forget about looking for eggs. Look at the bottom of the cell and see if you see a little white milky looking stuff. If you see the milk there, then you got a queen that's laying.
Okay.
That's the best thing to do.
Yeah, that hive, it had a bottom board, screen board. So they were very, very aggressive. So I've taken that. I took it down to an 8 frame, and I've been in there in about a month. They're a little more calm, but they're still a little aggressive.
Yeah. Well, the only thing you do is hope. You do the best you can.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Peter, you're up next. Go ahead.
I feel like I'm the one doing all the talking today. I don't know why. Anyway, Don, I just want to share 2 things with you. When you start using your Pro Vape, make sure you have gloves. This thing gets hot. When you have the cup on top of the hive full with the oxalic acid, and you bring the machine up on the top. You got to press down to put it on the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you have a glove at least on your left hand or you'll burn. The other thing is that I found I had a box of golf tees, you know, the tees for golfing.
Mm-hmm.
And they fit perfect in the hole. I found the best method is to drill the hole in the back of the hive and insert the sting, and then I slide a tee in there. Perfect. It's and since it has that end, and it's easy to pull out and put it back in. So just wanted to share that with you. Another thing that I've been doing some studying on is about Tropililaps clary. It's a crazy name, but have you ever heard of that?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Tropililaps clary. It's I see Anthony shaking his head. Yes, I know he's heard of this. I don't know if a lot of people know, but Canada imports a lot of their bees from New Zealand and Australia, and supposedly that's how we got varroa mite. Came through there through import. Tropililaps clary is another type of mite that is attacking a lot of the Asian mites, and now has been found in New Zealand and Australia. Is 10 times worse than varroa mite. And Anthony, I know he's going to chime in on that, but I was wondering if you have heard anything about it. So
the only thing I've heard of is, you know, and I've seen some in our yards here, is where the population had been good 1 week and then it's down, and then you go back, the hive is not starving. There's capped honey. I mean, there's a lot of honey. There's sometimes there's 20 pounds of honey in a hive and there's just no bees. I just figured it was just one of those years, because every year you've got another problem you're dealing with, and it's been moisture, it's been just wet, the humidity. It's been crazy weather this past 12 months. So hopefully next year, you know, and I'm bringing some new stock in, and we're going to try some different variations to see if that helps too. But
yeah, we got a little bit of that, and you know, the hives are suddenly, you know, they just disappear. But it seems this is a whole new thing that seems to be in the scientific community, you know, about Tropililaps clary. You know, we're hoping that Canada doesn't keep importing bees from Australia, where it's already being found on their bees over there.
well, I think they had, there was a big company importing or exporting out of Australia. It seemed like 5 or 6 years ago. I think it was Shamrock or something like that. They was bringing actual boatloads of bees in. I don't know if that's what part of the problem was, but it's beekeepers got something to deal with all the time. If it ain't the miticides, it's the pesticides, herbicides. It's one thing after another. It drives you nuts. If cattle producers lost as much of their resources as beekeepers, nobody would have beef anymore.
We'd be starving.
Right, but they all get these big subsidies and stuff. So the only thing that I found that seems to work is build a lot of hives, make a lot of splits, play the numbers, play lots of different locations. That seems to be the key. Different locations. They could be 5 miles apart, 6 miles apart, and one is doing tremendous, the other one is real poor.
Yeah, I've noticed that this year too with my apiaries. I had my home apiary, usually did very, very well. This year did not do very well. Honey and all of that didn't have much, but I have another apiary that's literally 4 miles from here, and it was booming through the seams, you know. I can't explain it.
It's, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and, you know, there's a lot of things that I see every year that I can't explain. It just, if you're going to be a beekeeper, you're in it for the long haul. There's not, you know, they say every 6 to 7 years is a bumper year for beekeepers, but I'm waiting for it next year now. I'm still hoping.
Hey, Don, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thank you for having me, and I'll definitely be joining next time.
Okay.
All right.
If you're going to have bees for sale, let us know on these chats.
Okay. Euros, you're up next. Go ahead.
Hi all, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, just wanted to say hi to you all. I'm a new guy in this group, I see. So Dan, thank you for all the information you provide through YouTube. I learn everything from it. I appreciate it very much. Started beekeeping this year with intended to have 2 hives. At the moment, I have 5.
You must be doing something right.
Yeah. I just following your instructions. So I just have one question. Last chat we talk about wax moths.
Mm-hmm.
And how many temperatures does it have to be to kill the eggs in the refrigerator?
Well, the eggs, basically, you could freeze them. I don't worry about freezing. If I have hives that left, or if we melt our wax or extract, I melt mine down. I make my own foundation, so I start new all the time. But wax moth, I mean, I put bait hives out with foundationing. And sometimes a bait hive will sit out in the woods 6 months, a year, and no wax moth. The only time wax moths seem to bother a hive is when bees start to draw it. I don't know if it's bacteria on their feet or at the process of drawing, but once they start to draw, you will get wax worms. Now, the old timers had a saying about wax moths. Wax moth is not a problem when there's no leaves on the tree. When the first leaves turn green, wax moths will bother hives. When the last of the leaves fall, wax moth is not as bad. But wax moth is usually comes from a hive is swarmed or a weak hive. That's where wax moth. It's not a disease. It's a condition the beekeepers caused or the bees caused.
Yeah, it's logical because the weak hives probably get moths quicker than strong hives, right?
Yeah. But now I've seen people, and I've done it in the past, in which I changed my thing. I had hives that had some webbing in it, took a frame or two and put it in a really strong hive. They will clean it out. But a lot of that debris builds up on the bottom. And now that we make our own foundation, I find it's much easier and better just to cut it all out, sterilize it, and put new wax in. That's just the way we do things. But people say they don't use them. You can use them.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Another question I have regarding selling bees in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
It's also in demand here, a huge demand like in the US, or what do you think?
Well, there's more and more people wanting to get into bees, either for income or for their own health purposes, or for the use of the byproducts. I don't know anything about regulations outside the United States. You probably have to have them inspected. Probably have to have permits to sell too.
No permits for sale, but the inspection has to be, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Slovenia, Europe.
Well, you run the AZ hive there.
Yes, I'm running AZ, but Langstroth principle.
Yeah, I like the Langstroth. I looked at AZ. It's okay if you're going to do 1 or 2 hives, but
it's more appropriate for older persons because you can sit and you can pull the frames like this, not from up.
Yeah, and no more than maybe 2 or 3 hives. That's the whole thing about that.
Yeah, but here is the tradition. They have like a building, and they have inside like 20 hives.
Mm-hmm.
One brood chamber, and then one up.
Right.
For the honey. So.
Well, welcome to the group.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to.
We had a fellow from Croatia a while back, and
I talked to him just seconds ago. Boban.
We get people from just about everywhere.
Great.
I was surprised people heard of me over there.
Well, I found you on the internet, so.
Oh.
and I like common sense beekeeping a lot.
Right.
So.
I'm glad that you're learning.
Yeah. Thanks for information.
Okay.
Again.
Thank you.
And hi to all, and have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas to you.
That's another reason in that bottom corner now, if you see subscribe to the channel and like the video you see. That's the revenue that we collect on those there. we're providing a learning service out there that a lot of people are charging for. And, you know, a penny per view, it's not going to cost you nothing. And that's part of our revenue. It's like beekeepers selling their honey. That's their money they use to reinvest into their bees. So that's next thing you think about when you look at a video, whether it's mine or somebody else. If you're getting something from the video, like their video, subscribe to their channel. They're only getting a penny off you. It didn't cost you nothing. Some people make donations, you know, from my channel out there, which I appreciate every donation I get.
Okay. Anthony, you're up next. Go ahead.
Yeah. Don, you could probably run for president in Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia. We have a lot of members from there.
I see a lot of people posting on my group there that I should have Mike Rowe get me on Dirty Jobs. I mean, I should have a reality show. This is my reality show right here. That's all I can take.
Unfortunately, Mikey's been canceled, I think.
Well, they might bring it back. You never know.
Yeah, Peter, I don't know the right way to say that word. I call them tropulaps. But they're more, if you look, varroa mite is round if you look at them side by side, and this tropulaps that Peter mentioned, they're more cigar shaped, and they're smaller than a varroa mite, but they're much more prolific. I don't know if it's 10 times, but they produce way more than the regular varroa mite. But according to the bee farm here and the entomology professor, we just don't have a problem in this area. I'm not saying we don't have any. We just don't have a big problem in this area where I am. So that's a good thing.
The only good thing about the Tropulaps clary is that it cannot leave without brood. So for us up north, that might be a good thing if it ever reaches this country. No brood means it dies. So, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on because it's a lot stronger than Varroa. And if it reaches over here, it's another nail in the coffin, basically. But
yeah.
Seems to
well,
be.
you know, when you say no brood, we have found on small hive beetles, we're running our hives under pine trees. We found that hives, usually in August, September, if there's way too much pollen in there, we found by pulling a frame of pollen out and just putting a frame back and letting them draw and keeping the amount of pollen in there to the ratio of bees you have far less beetle problems. When you start feeding pollen in the fall, you increase the queen delay, and you also increase the amount of small hive beetles because they thrive on the pollen.
I hate those pollen patties because you're feeding the beetles. It's a pain.
Right.
It's a pain. I avoid
That's another thing that we're fortunate here. We don't have small hive beetles here.
I said I'd send you some.
Yeah, okay. Because I posted the distribution map. In India, Thailand, China, there's nothing here. And all the rest of the places that have them are in red. So, all right, we get into the end. There's 3 hands up, so go ahead.
Okay. All right, Ann, your turn. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I have AZ Hive. I actually think you need at least 3 of them, if not more. They're very, the manipulation of them is pretty intensive, easy to work with, but we have the lady that runs the Slovenian tours and stuff. I'm pretty friendly with her. And, you know, the setups that they show, they'll show 12 in a bank, and they're sliding them in and out, moving things around. So I don't think it's very good to have only 1 or 2 of them. I actually had to give mine up because it was just too much. I needed another one to move things too, and it didn't work. I like laying stuff. I'll stick with things.
Okay. And let's see, we got Ernest. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was over at my dentist's office and having trouble seeing down in the eggs and so forth. And I asked him if he had any these glasses. These are telescopic, and you can see right down in the hive. It's about the size of your thumb. when you look down in the cells. So yeah, he said he got them sitting back there. He bought a pair is too heavy, and
Those are training wheels for old people.
I got them for free. So you can't beat free, right?
Right. Yeah. You know,
So if you
if
go
you're
buy
going
a
to
pair
draft,
like
they come in
this, it's
handy.
$1,600. So
Whoa.
you can't beat free, and you get your length. You get, other words, regular glasses. You can't have room to work, but with these, you can actually out the hand's length. You can see what you need to see.
Right.
So I'm anxious to see how I can work with them come spring.
Are you going to try grafting with them?
I'm going to try grafting this year with them.
I bought a regular set of the strongest that you can buy over the counter at the drugstore, are like $5. Those seem to work good. Then I've got a 12-inch magnifying glass with a halogen bulb in that, which for grafting, that's what I have to use.
Yeah, well, you got to have a light with this. I'm going to use a headlight. You know, those.
Right. I got one of those too.
But
But this one here is a great big circle. It's got a round light bulb in it, and you can move it all over the table and put it right down. You know, the egg looks the size of a quarter.
It still don't give you enough room to work. You know, you only got about this much room to work. This year, you know, you've got foot 13, 14 inches to work. So you can work comfortably, you know, and setting up.
Your biggest problem that you have is when you're grafting from one cell and you transfer it to the clean cell, is to refocus back, because it takes a few seconds for your eyes to get moving from one to the other. That's what's happening to me. Maybe young guys can do it a little better.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see how this works. And the other day I got a call. I already got 3 hives sold, and they already brought me the check. 3 nukes sold. So
there you go.
I will have mediums. I don't have that many deeps. I'm in the process of doing deeps and mediums, but I'll have mediums for sale come spring, Lord willing. See how the weather holds.
The more people we can get selling, the better off we are. Did you get your web page up?
No, I haven't got that up yet.
Get that up as soon as you can. That way it's going to help you, sell bees.
Okay. Well, we certainly appreciate what you do, and I hope you have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll, I guess, have this again 2 weeks. It'll be up in 2018, right?
It'll be, what would be the date then? E, you got that marked down?
Oh, I do not have it marked yet. I think it's the 6th, I believe.
The 6th of December?
Hang on, let me check. Yep, the 6th.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'll be celebrating because January 1st is my birthday, so I hope it wasn't then.
Okay.
All right. On to Bobbin. Go ahead, Bobbin.
Hello to everyone. I want to wish Merry Christmas to all.
Merry Christmas.
And Don, don't give any purpose about hater on YouTube. And believe me, you see how much you have here in Europe. Uroš is from Slovenia. I'm from Serbia. Anthony is from Thailand, and you have many people around the world. They watch your videos, and believe me, you are the best.
Well, I'm not the best, but you are the reason I do this. That is more reward than a check, believe me. When I can turn a beekeeper out there who's successful, it means more to me than a financial gain that you can get from it. I wouldn't spend hours trying to help people, take them under my arm and just help them step by step. So it makes me proud to see students flourishing out there. It really does.
And that's all.
And I don't know everything. I'm still learning. So don't tell me I know everything.
Yes, you are right. The man learn all life.
Right.
Okay. Patricia, go.
Well, the conversation's kind of moved on past when I was raised my hand to begin with. But anyways, a lot of people confuse the larva of the wax moth with the larva of the small hive beetle. And the small hive beetle can do an extreme amount of damage, and you misdiagnose what's going on and you lose your bees. So familiarize yourself with the difference in the two larva stages. And also, small hive beetles larvae tunnel through the honey frame, through the wax, and they destroy the honey with the slime that they excrete. One of the guys that I mentor called me and he said, I got really bad amount of small hive beetles. So the way he was describing it, I just couldn't believe that I thought he was wrong. So we went over and suited up and went into his hive. I have never seen so many small hive beetles as erupted out of his hive, but he had put his beehives back where his compost pile used to be, under some shady trees where it was nice for him to take care of his bees. It was cool and shady. So that was like what the small hive beetles loved. But when we pulled the frames out, the honey was running out of the frames where the larva had tunneled through the wax and destroyed the wax, and the honey was just running right out of the frames. So the point of that is to make sure that what you're diagnosing is actually what's going on in your hive. And if you're not sure, get a more experienced beekeeper to take a look. Take pictures and post it on Don's Facebook page. There's several of us that are happy to help you if we can, or if not, we'll get Don to take a look. But make sure that you know what you're looking at, because small hive beetles, their larvae do an extreme amount of damage. And once they slime the hive, the bees will not live in it. They will leave.
Right.
And that's all.
One thing to look at, small hive beetle, usually you find that it looks like the bottom board is actually moving. There'll be millions of them on the bottom. Wax moth don't do that. You'll usually find 3 or 4 on the bottom at the most. Wax moth live in the wax. So when you pick your frame up, it looks like cobwebs through it. And if you take your hive tool and just go down the cells, you can actually pull the worm out. And the worm is about 3-4 times longer and fatter than the small hive beetle larvas. When you got larvas on the bottom, you are getting at the last stages. That's when the hive is really getting really bad. They won't make those maggots on the bottom until they've almost consumed a frame or 2 of honey or pollen. Pollen frames is what they hit first, then they go into the honey and burrow into it. And the only thing that I found that you can do is either melt the stuff down or find a fire ant hill and shake it up with with your foot or a shovel, lay the frame on it, let those fire ants come up. They'll clean that thing out. And once they clean it up, they don't eat the wax. They'll eat all that nastiness out and then set it out, let it air out for a couple of days and then melt it down. Don't try to reuse it. But that's the closest thing you can save it. If it's too far and you can't stand it, get a pile, bury it. Soak your frames in bleach and you can reuse them.
Okay. All right. Over to Wally. Go ahead.
Hey, Don. So when I first started back in April, I grabbed the catalog and I ordered a bunch of stuff. After I got it in, I'm pretty handy, so I've been able to build my own. I've been building 3 frame nukes. Did you suggest 3 or 5 frames to build?
To make queens?
Yep.
Are you talking about a 10 frame or a deep frame or a medium frame, 3 frame, or you?
I've been building medium 3 frames.
Mediums? Yeah. You don't have enough bees in there unless you're going to maintain them enough. I try to tell students when they first start out, because they want to go in 30 directions at once. If you're going to start making queens and you do it on a small side type of job, do 5 frame, standard frame, and you can do them on deeps or you can do them on mediums, but make it standard 5 frame box. Okay. For some reason, if it doesn't work out on you, you can always use them as supers or you can sell them to someone. But a 3 frame, you're not going to sell it to nobody.
Okay.
So you can take a 5 frame box, and Joe May has done it up there a lot, and we do it here. We'll take a 5 frame box and run 1 or 2 frames in it. 3 most is average. We never put 5 frames in a 5-frame box unless it's building up and ready to sell as a new. It's just because 3 frames, you're in and out of it so much faster than, you know, a full 5 frames.
Okay.
That way you don't have to set 1 frame on the outside of the box to do an inspection. It's done for speed.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. One last question, Peter. Go ahead. Hang on. It's not unmuting you. You must have did something on your end. Go ahead. There you go.
All right, Don, a quick question about hive beetle. I noticed on your videos, and Pat just brought it up. I noticed some of your hives are on seems to me on pretty shaded areas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a piece of property that has a lot of trees. I'm going to cut some down, and I wanted to ask you that: do you find you're having more problems with hive beetle in the shaded areas?
No, the problems you end up having with beetles is management techniques. You get too many hives and you're not in them. If you're in them, I've done videos on changeouts. Changeouts is done for several reasons. You change the box out. As you go through frame by frame, you got a queen cell, you make your splits then. If you got beetles in the bottom, once you move the queen to the hive, where you're going to put another box, then you can start getting it with a hive tool and smash them. But maintenance on that box is so important. If you're in and out of it, the problems we have is usually in open sun because it gets so hot. And if we're not in it often enough, they get a little bit honey bound and they want to start drawing cells or absconding on you.
Okay.
They do much better in the shade.
All right, that was one of the worries that I had. You know, I'm running out of space, and now it's either I do it in the tree area or not, you know? So,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I got my yard set up like it is. I've got a low spot, which in the morning it has fog in it because it's so low and damp. I've got a lot of trees that are pine trees. I've got some that are hardwoods, and I've got a lot of them in open areas. And I've got them facing in every direction you can think of. And I've got them painted in every color you can think of. Just to show people, those are not the factors you have to worry about. It's usually not working a hive is when you get your problems. That's where wax moth comes in and beetles.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And is the shade worse for wax moth, or it doesn't matter?
The wax moth has nothing to do with sun or shade. It has to do with the hive is weak, it's swarmed on you, or the populations is low and the beetle or the wax moth have gotten into it. That's the reason for that.
All right.
It's not a disease. It's usually a neglect disease.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Don.
Okay. That'll do it for tonight. Don, do you want to pick the winner of our most festive attire?
Okay, let's see. Most festive. Let's get Pat. We got Santa Claus and Santa Claus's wife. We'll pick them tonight.
That sounds like a good one. Congratulations, Pat. I'll be in touch.
Thank you, thank you.
I think our runner-up was Kim. He had he definitely Santa Claus going on there. So, all right, that's a wrap for tonight. Thank you, everyone. Have a very Merry Christmas. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Don, have a very happy birthday.
Okay, thank you. Everybody have a Merry Christmas, and I appreciate everybody showing up and participating.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.